Hello, Darren. Happy holidays. Happy Easter.
G'day, Richard. How are you?
I'm very good. Working from the Sugar Shed today at home, which is obviously fantastic, the Sugar Hub.
Yeah,
And obviously, we're having another conversation that we're going to share with everybody, and everybody's super excited to listen to us chat, I can imagine.
yeah, yep. Got some interesting things to talk about. We're Easter long weekend coming up. We're in Brisbane in a 3-day lockdown at the moment. So
Very
hoping that
true. You are.
tomorrow morning if we are allowed to go on holidays. So
Yes, true. Brisbane and Queensland. Welcome to COVID.
yeah, yeah, we've been very lucky having avoided it at this stage. But we've got the UK strain, which is the worst of all strains apparently.
You've gone straight up in there. You've not messed around.
Yeah.
You've said we're behind the times here. You had the internet come to you last year, and now you've gone right ahead and got COVID, which is very modern.
Yeah, we're not that backward up in Queensland, but
No, I'm joking. I jest. That's very cruel of me. So yes, we were having a brief discussion, weren't we, around the sort of lockdown, and off the back of that, obviously talking about how that affects businesses and how it has affected businesses, and you had some interesting points around those pieces.
yeah, I was reading an article during the week, which I'll just share on screen. I shared it on LinkedIn earlier in the week. Something that was in the Harvard Business Review, which makes me sound like I'm perhaps more intelligent than I am that I read it, but it shows up in the feed, and you click on the link, and it's quite an interesting article about how mid-sized firms were handling the sales process during the pandemic, where they were having to work virtually. And for many parts of the world, and obviously here in Brisbane at the moment, and in Melbourne for an extended period of time, recently, there hasn't been the ability to physically go and visit clients the way that your businesses traditionally would. And the thing that was interesting about this article was an example of a company, of what they did, this practice called KBAA, and they were taking the time to organise Zoom meetings where they would send cocktails and some drinks, I guess, and have a bit of a social gathering with the client and take them through the project or what it is that they were working on. And I just thought it was really interesting that because of the pandemic, they were forced into having thinking creatively of how to spend time with the customers, and they were actually able to have a very successful outcome without the need to go there physically. And what struck me and interested me was the effort that they were putting into managing their account relationships. And we spoke last week that the amount of investment businesses put in acquiring new customers with their sales and marketing effort, relative to the quite low level of effort, I think, that a lot of organizations, not every organization, but a lot of organizations put into retaining and developing the relationships with existing customers.
What was you had a great line that you probably stole from somewhere, knowing you, that you used last week, which I thought was very good.
Borrowed it. It's customer service is the new marketing.
Very good. I like that.
Yeah, it is good. And I think that really it's not enough when you're doing account management or working with customers to really call them up and say, how's it going? Have you got anything for us? There's not, people are busy, and there's not really a lot of value in doing that. I certainly don't like doing that to our customers. I think really we should have a good idea of what's going on.
Yeah.
Have something that's of more value, and certainly have some sort of idea of what we would like to be talking about the customer to progress with. So I thought we could talk a little bit about how you do that. I think a lot of businesses that might be watching this are using a CRM or considering getting a CRM. And I think for many of those businesses, using that to protect and develop their customer relationships and grow their business through providing better customer service would be an interesting topic to drill into.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you guys, particularly as a business, you look very specifically at your account management as an area that you can really develop and help people with. I know yours internally is very good, and you guys do have a specific module which helps customers of yours know their customers far deeper and better than they would have done before. And I think that's something that's, for your business, has been very, very good, and for your customers has been very, very good, especially as we came into the pandemic. I think it was highlighted that they probably know more about their customers than perhaps using a traditional CRM.
Well, I'll tell you the problem that we have in our business, and we've been doing what we do for 20 years, so quite a long time. And I think the problem we have is the problem that I think I certainly see a lot of customers have, and prospective customers have, and quite big businesses. You might have 200 employees and 30, 40 sales reps, or things of that nature. We are very good at historically at doing our work. Like many of our any of our customers that have been in business for any period of time are there because they're good at what they do. Yeah. But what will often happen, and this happens with us, and I see it happen with clients, is you can also get very good at acquiring and onboarding new customers. But then the focus then goes to getting a new customer rather than sort of focusing on what can be done more with that existing customer. And we have had to invest some human resources and some quite a bit of thought into how you go about managing those customer relationships. And in some ways, the reason why businesses focus on getting new customers, because it's actually easier in a way. They all come in, they've got a problem, you've got the solution, and you can deal with that transaction. And it is a bit transactional. You often will build a relationship at that point, but then that moves to an implementation phase, and the people who are in a sales role often aren't then executing. That gets handed to an operational person, and those people are just tasked with doing the execution, implementing the project or delivering the product. Well, who's then there picking up the relationship from the point that they're then using it, and then maybe need additional things in the future? Obviously, new products come out, there's new developments, and you want to grow that relationship with the account, and who's tasked with that. Now, I know a lot of clients will do this, but I think many businesses that even are doing it feel like they could do it better. So I thought we could probably touch on some of the things that I think are important with good strategic account management and how you'd use CRM.
So we're moving from the honeymoon stage, the wooing. Everybody loves the chase. And we're focusing on the core of the relationship, aren't we? That's what we're looking for. How do I keep her happy forever?
So obviously, you have a good honeymoon, and you have a good courting period, which is very
important. We spend lots of money on the courting period.
Yeah, the sale. That's obviously
set the bar high.
And then the honeymoon, but you want to have a good marriage, and that takes work, I guess.
It does. We've got to put the same amount of hours into the long-term relationship that we do the initial wooing. Maybe we do have to invest some resources into the marriage. Is this a reflection, Darren, of our lives? Is this what we're saying?
Well, this is the reconciliation, because I think our last video we were talking about relationships in crisis, but we're now talking about having a good marriage. So I think we're sort of in therapy or something here. I think
we're coming back stronger than ever.
Yeah. So the steps, I think that the couple of key things with account management when you're using a CRM for any business is two really important modules. One is the contacts module, which are the people, and the other one is the accounts module, which is the company records. That's pretty standard in every CRM platform. Yeah. Obviously, you want to have relationships. Your relationships are with the people working at the company, and it's important that you have the records for all the people that you need to have a relationship. So it's typically not just one person. So there might be, an accounts person that's responsible for paying your invoices. Well, they're important, but there's also people that it might be product users. They could be key decision influencers, or they could be key decision makers. So you could be dealing with those people, and different people in your organization could be dealing with different, people within there. But I think that's important to have them. But the focus really needs to be in a commercial sense at the account level, and that's the record, of the company. And on that record, it should have a couple of things. One is, what the status of the relationship is, and that should be at a very basic level. It should be a customer or a prospect.
Yeah.
A customer is somebody who's dealt with you. A prospect is somebody who has shown interest in dealing with you, or you've identified as somebody who should or could, deal with you and be a good fit for the business. If you focus on customers, then, and that's really where we're talking a little bit at the moment, but I think if you get your strategy, every business wants to grow through new account acquisition, which is often called new logo business in our business, a new account acquisition. But I think to successfully go out and target new accounts, you need to be good at managing the accounts you've got, because it's the same skills that you use in managing and growing your existing accounts that you can use to build relationships with target accounts and bring them across. So talking about customer records, you want to know who all the contacts are, what their roles are, and who in your organization has been communicating with them. You want to review all the communications history, all past phone calls, meetings, and email communication. Your CRM ideally is integrated with Office 365 or whatever your email platform is. So every email that's been sent by anyone in your organization to anyone in that organization should be viewable on the company record with the most recent information at the top. So when you're orientating yourself in an account review, you want to go through that communication history, along with meetings, which again should be synced out of Outlook ideally. And you would also want to look at any past quotes, sales opportunities, and ideally you should have your CRM linked to your accounting or ERP system. So you should have a record of your sales history as well. What were the past invoices? What was sold on those invoices? What sort of monthly sales volume? Depending on whether these are accounts that tick over with regular sales volumes that you need to manage and grow, or whether it's sort of project sales and sort of ad hoc sales items. You want to review what the commercial history as well as the communication history has been. Once you've orientated yourself of what's been going on and where you're at currently, you should be in a position to create a mental model of where you think that customer would more ideally be or should be. So an example might be that you can see that they regularly buy certain products from you, but they're not using another product that might be a newer product that you've got. So you might reasonably conclude, well, maybe they don't know about it. So, have we talked to them about it? And you might then decide, well, that's something that we should focus on developing with this contact or this account. So I think it's not too difficult in a conversation between an account manager and a sales manager, or a national account manager, with the team to determine where you think the customer is at and where you think it could be. You also take into account the relationship. It's like, well, is this customer generally open? Do you have existing relationships that will make that easy? Are they closed off to you? Is it going to require more work? There's a lot of nuance to this, and this is where it takes a bit of time and effort, I think.
Yeah, one of the things I remember that we've discussed before is around people buy from people. Yeah, we all know that, and you probably within your business can identify who within another organization is the champion for your business. And it's important to know that, because an element of risk for the business or strength for the business is knowing the champion, because if the champion moves on, your relationship moves on. And again, there's an opportunity for cross-sell. If the champion goes somewhere else, perhaps they'll buy your product again. So identifying a champion and having the CRM know who the champion is very, very, very important, I think.
Critical. And that's as simple as having a field with a drop-down value in it on a contact record. that would flag them as a key account contact or a client champion or whatever terminology is appropriate for you, that you can identify who organizationally everyone can see who are those key contacts. And as you say, if somebody leaves, well, that's an opportunity potentially to find out where they've gone, which you can do on LinkedIn, and maybe you can then go and there's an opportunity of going into that new account. Or if somebody new is coming into the organization, potentially that's a threat to the business because they might be bringing another provider in with them. And at the very least, you should be engaging with that person and establishing whether that's a possibility or not. And on a positive note, often when new people come in, it's a catalyst for change, and it might give you the opportunity to introduce some of the ideas that you might have. Now, very rarely would people start a new job and be contacted by a supplier and be provided some helpful support about the history of the account and what their predecessor, things they might need to know, that they may not have had handed over from their predecessor. And so it actually allows you to deliver a really good customer experience at that opportunity, that opportunity presents. And the CRM is the place where you can manage that process. So so I think you're right. We've got to focus on people, but we're taking an account-based approach to doing that.
Yeah, people are at the core of it, but the account is where you need to focus a lot of the energy, and all the data needs to be around the account itself, right? We can support the champion if they're in the account. If they leave the account, you can chase the champion. We've got to have another champion back in the account to keep it ticking along.
And develop relationships with other people in the account. And that's probably another thing that you see as an issue is if I saw that we had an account and we only had one contact in there, then there's a lot of risk around only having a relationship with one person.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think what you can often have is you've got a relationship with people at a sort of a tactical level, but not necessarily a strategic level. And that is something that we've worked hard at in our business and continue to work hard at is, we've got a great relationship with the people that we work with on the product, but it's the people who, in the business that are trying to, improve the business outcomes that we really want to have, because they're the people we think we can really help. And we've got to develop relationships with them. And that takes a little bit of time and thought in how to do that. So
you got to, an IT sponsor in the account, an executive sponsor in the account, a business level sponsor in the account, or again, sponsor champion, whatever the terminology, you need to ensure that you've got it identified and it's at the account level where you can see it.
Well, ultimately, it's those people that make the decisions. So if you've got and everyone watching this would have clients where they have relationships at that level, and it's always the best level to be having. Now, you need to have the relationships at sort of an operational and execution level, because they're the people that, make sure things get done, within your business and the client's business. But the people who make the decisions at the client, they're the ones that really are the most, impactful relationships, if you're wanting to strengthen the the commercial relationship between organizations. So you've got to work up to that strategic level. You've got to identify who those people are, and you've got to work out how to thoughtfully develop relationships with those people. And that generally takes a discussion with the business and the people in your team about how you can do that. And it takes time is the other thing, Richard. Like, this is not something that you do once. It might take you 12, 18 months to do that.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about implementing a CRM, what you have when you open the box, let's say on day one when you go live, should not be the same as what you have in a year, 2 years, or 3 years, or 4 years. It should grow as you grow and support that growth with it. If you've got the same thing in 3 years that you had a year ago, then in my opinion, you've probably failed.
Yeah, well, I think that's the case with most people that most businesses, when they're dealing with their customers, what they're doing for them now should not necessarily be all that they're doing for them in the future. You're coming out with new products and services. The market's changing. your offerings are changing. So there's always a need. If you want to keep the customer relationship for life, then you need to evolve, and businesses do evolve. But what you need to ensure is that your relationships are in place that allow you to communicate that evolution, and bring those customers along with you. So I guess the final point I would say is the criticality of having using the task module or a calls module or some sort of follow-up activities module, which all CRMs have, to once you've determined what your strategy is of what you'd like to see happen with accounts, to improve those relationships, that you have a reminder for the account manager to review, to execute on that. That could be to schedule a meeting or to call the customer. And as they complete those ones, that they schedule the next one, because it takes multiple touch points. We know, this from various things. It takes X number of touch points before somebody, is confident to deal with us or what have you. And it's the same with account management. A relationship isn't built in one meeting or one phone call. It's done over time, and it's a combination of an accumulation of positive experiences that people have, through those interactions, that allows the that relationship to grow. And I think the other thing that you need to have from a management point of view, on the company record, is a field that tells you when was the last date that you had an account management type engagement with that with that customer. Because if you can look through your list and say, well, these are all the accounts that are really important to us, and that we want to be growing, but they haven't been contacted in the last 6 months, well, then
that's not a healthy relationship to be in, is it?
Well, that's exactly right.
I think that when people think about the CRM and think about their business, I know it's one of the key pillars that we talk about and that you talk about, is we try, in everything we do, we're trying to cultivate customers for life. And that should be at the core of everybody's thinking when they operate their businesses, because if you keep customers for life, you're going to be a very, very successful business. And that's definitely what we think about when we're looking at the CRM and investing in the product, and what you're looking in terms of an implementation as well.
100%. So that's I think that's going to be a focus, really, is focusing on those relationships, and and growing businesses through customer service and managing the accounts and growing those ones. And I think when you do that well, then you're qualified to be bringing on new customers, because you're generating, you're doing as much for the ones that you've got as you can. And then any new customers you bring in are so much more valuable to the organization, because you've got a process that, in commercial terms, maximizes the customer's lifetime value to the organization.
I think on that we'll wrap it up. But one thing I think that will lead in nicely when we talk again is thinking about customer services is the new marketing. And probably if we think about Sugar Serve and the Amazon Connect piece, we can probably discuss that in some detail and share how maybe those two things tie together.
We can talk about that next week.
Cheers, Darren. Happy Easter, happy holidays. I'll see you soon. Enjoy riding your bike around Queensland.
Okay, thanks, Rich. See you, mate. Bye.
Cheers, mate. Bye.